Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and this video is going to be a little bit different from most videos on my channel. I'll actually be swatching the new set of 120 Ohuhu markers that I just treated myself to. I found a great deal on Amazon for the brush plus fine tip Ohuhu markers in 120 count for only $75. So it's a fantastic deal. I'm not a professional illustrator or colorist or anything like that, so Ohuhu is definitely the most affordable option for me, and it still has the brush tip, which means I can still at least try to mimic a lot of the sort of flicking techniques to get that extra texture and all of that goodness that so many people are able to achieve with Copics. And at really a fraction of the cost, I think these are fantastic value for money. I did already start out with a set of 48 markers, and one of the things that I found in using the initial 48 was that I use grays a lot, so I was eager to kind of replace some of the grays that I had used up completely. And because Ohuhu markers are not sold individually, if you did find yourself running out, you would have to buy another full set that included that color marker. Bit of a downside, but the other reason why I decided to invest in the 120 set was because I was also looking to expand the color range that I was working with, and as well, I found the set that actually has the fine tip instead of the chisel tip, which I don't know if they always had and I just never saw it, but this one popped up because it was on sale. And so when I realized that was an option, it sort of ticked kind of all three boxes for me. It was expanding my color range, I got the fine tip end, and I can replace and even expand the gray markers that I have already used up in the original set that I purchased. So I'm going to just continue to swatch out these 120 markers and put it on fast forward and set it to some music. I'll probably hop back in because after I'm done swatching all of these, I'm actually going to do some blending so that I can play around with some different color combinations to see what yields the smoothest blend in some of the more common colors that I use in my coloring. And one thing with Ohuhus that really is maybe a downside to investing in this particular system, it doesn't have a very clear naming system or ID system for the markers that helps you understand how to blend the colors together. Copics, they have their own convention for naming and numbering, numbering their markers so that you have a better shot once you understand their system of how to select 2, 3, 4 markers and get a beautiful blend from them. Spectrum Noir, same thing. They also have a system that it's like a coding system that just makes it really easy, takes some of the guesswork, especially with Spectrum Noir. They have their tri-blends, which really takes all the thinking out of it for you. So that is one thing that is a downside to using Ohuhus. And what I find useful is to just experiment. And once you swatch out all of your colors, you have an idea of how they look and, what the tints are and all those nuances that you can't really go by the color on the cap for because often they are very different. And so swatching it out, you'll be able to see how it looks on paper and then make some better choices in terms of blending from one color into the next. So once I'm done swatching, I'll start to do some blending as well, and then I'll resume the voiceover at the end and just give you some of my concluding thoughts on this marker range. Okay, so I'm just about done with my individual marker swatches, and I just wanted to mention, because I don't think I did in the intro, I'm swatching this such that I'm doing basically one pass of the marker, and then I'm coming back halfway for a second pass. And what that allows me to see is pretty much the lightest that this individual marker can go, and then the true color, because usually you can continue to darken a color with multiple sort of passes or layers of that color, but it will reach a point where it's fully saturated the paper and it's not going to get any darker than what the true color of the marker is. And so I find usually 2 passes, sometimes 3 passes, you'll reach that point. So this helps me sort of understand within one marker itself what sort of color range I can get. Now that I've swatched out all 120 colors, what I'm going to do is reference my 2 swatch sheets, and I'm just going to try to find 3, plus or minus 1 markers that I think will create a good blend with each other. So a good light, a good midtone, a good shadow color. And this way I can identify and swatch out some blends, and if I'm looking to color an image, I'll have a starting point to kind of work from. And when I'm in the mood to do some more experimentation, I'll still have the individual color swatches that I can pick and choose from if I want to create something a little bit more fun and exciting. But a lot of times what I'm looking for when I'm coloring is for my midtone to be sort of the primary color of the object that I'm coloring, for the light tone to be the highlights, and then for the darkest to be the shadow. And so I'm looking for a set of 3 that work really well and essentially feel like they're the same color, but just caught in either light or shadow. And so you can definitely try to do this based on the cap of the marker, but often the cap of the markers are not a good indicator for what the color actually looks like once it's on paper. And then I find for myself anyways, not being an artist, an illustrator, or colorist, that it's even when it's swatched out on paper and I'm looking at the swatches to identify colors that might blend well together, every color sort of has its own sort of nuance. So purples in particular I find very difficult, because some purples are a little warmer and on the red side, some purples are on the cooler side and a little bit more blue. And so those are subtleties that for me sometimes are hard to pick up on, but when I see them blended together, I can see just the overall effect if it looks right or not. And so, for me, it's helpful to just do this exercise of trying out and testing some blends, just so that I know what looks right and, what looks good, at least to my eye, and what doesn't. And, it's a nice starting point to, if I'm looking to do some quick coloring, I can just go with a blend that I know looks good, works. Or if I've got more time and I'm in the zone to experiment with some wackier blends, then I still have my individual swatch sheets that I can pick and choose from. So I'm going to continue to swatch out some blends, and then I'll resume the voiceover at the end just to recap my thoughts on this set of 120 markers. overall, I'm really happy with this set of 120 colors. I'm really glad that I got it because it did achieve what I was hoping, which was it did fill in some of those gaps where I was trying to get a nice smooth blend, but wasn't able to with the first set of 48 markers that I purchased. And so I think having this now not only helps to achieve that, but it's really broadened the range of colors that I have available to me as well, especially since it does have some of those lighter, more pastel-y colors. It's got a little bit more skin tones, not a lot, but some. I don't do a ton of portrait coloring anyways, but sometimes, there are little characters on a stamped image that I'm often looking for good skin tones for. And so overall, I'm really happy with this set. Now, one thing that I find a little bit strange, and it's definitely going to trip me up in the future, is that on the first set of 48 markers, the gray band on the marker barrel was an indicator of the brush tip end. But on the new set of markers, the gray band indicates the fine tip, not the brush tip. So I know that is going to definitely confuse me since I've mixed together my markers so that I can use up that original set of 48 first before diving into the new ones. So that part is a little bit strange, but otherwise I felt like the brush tips were pretty much the same between the two sets. One thing that might be interesting is to see if they've actually changed the color formulation at all. So when I do start using up more of the original set of 48 colors, before I dive into the new color, I'll go ahead and swatch that out just to see if the color is the same. But otherwise, I'm really happy. So really glad that I got this. I'm hoping that having this expanded set now sort of encourages me to pick up my alcohol markers more and start coloring more with them. So thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this different video from me, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. And if you want to get a notification when I post new videos to my channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Thanks again, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!